Hello, I want to show you my chicken soup recipe because this is such a nutritious meal. It's an old family recipe, my mother's and my grandmother's before her, and I find it really useful to freeze. You can keep it in the fridge for a couple of days, and apart from having to pick the bones out after you've boiled the carcass of the chicken, it's nice and easy. And I'll tell you about the nutrition in a little while. So the first thing that I do, I've already got 2 litres of water in my pressure cooker. Now I'll put another litre in, so 3 litres with stock cubes, chicken stock cubes. But if you haven't got a pressure cooker, then a heavy lidded crock pot will do. But obviously with a pressure cooker you can leave it for however long on very low and it'll look after itself. That's why I love it. I use boiling water because it helps to dissolve the stock cubes, but also it gets the soup cooking faster. So that's my 3rd litre of water. So here's my chicken carcass. So we've had a meal out of it and a sandwich, and I'm going to then use the rest. It's quite a nice lot of meat on this one left. I've pulled off the chicken skin because I don't want too much fat, so pull a bit more off there, and then just going to lift it out and immerse it into the chicken stock. So that's pretty much covered. There's just a little bit sticking out at the top. Wash my hands. Now, what I really love putting in to this recipe is yellow split peas and red lentils, which I'll tell you how good they are for you in a minute. So with the yellow split peas, be careful not to put too many because it can make the soup very thick and then it'll stick to the bottom of the pan. So I do half a cup or 125 mils, 4 fluid ounces. And I just tip that in, and then with the red lentils I'll do a whole cup, 250 mils, 8 fluid ounces. Tip them in. So at this stage I'll put a couple of bay leaves, three bay leaves, and as long as you remember to fish it out afterwards, a bouquet garni in a little bag. I'm just going to give that a bit of a stir. My lid's on, and then turn it up until it starts to whistle. A lot of people are afraid of pressure cookers. I know years ago there used to be stories around about them exploding and food ending up on the ceiling. I've never, 39 years almost that I've been married, and I have never had one explode. But the main thing is to turn the heat down to the lowest that it is, so it's just a gentle hiss coming out of it, and then it should be fine. And also to have plenty of water so it doesn't boil dry. And I find I don't have to stand over it and worry about whether it's going to boil over or anything, and I can go off and do other things and it can do its job. So now I want to tell you about the health benefits, which are amazing. So by boiling up a chicken carcass, the bones, it's a good source of beneficial amino acids, which is associated with collagen, and we all want more collagen as we get older. That's broken down into gelatin, glycine and glutamine, and the gelatin binds with water to support the healthy transit of food in the gut through the intestine. It's possible that there are therapeutic benefits for inflammatory bowel disease. So, IBS is quite common these days, so that's marvellous. And if when you're going through your cancer treatment, things are not working as well, that can help to soothe. So it's good for microbial diversity, which I talked about before about your immune system, that you need a certain amount of diversity of microbes in the gut for healthy digestion and healthy immune system, and it can increase bone density in postmenopausal women. I'm very pleased to hear that. Collagen can aid weight loss, joint health, and it can help you to sleep. So now the yellow split peas. I like these because they give a sort of a creamier texture, and they sort of thicken the soup. Sometimes you don't need to then add corn flour at the end, depending on how much liquid you use and how many veg you put in. But it's rich in fibre and protein, fat-free obviously, and it's rich in vitamin B1, B5, K and folate, iron, magnesium and zinc. So the red lentils, these are low in sodium and obviously low in fat, no saturated fat, high in potassium, fibre, folate, polyphenols that have an antioxidant activity. They can delay the absorption of carbohydrates with blood sugar lowering effects. They're a good source of prebiotics, again for the bacteria in the gut that you want. It can feed the gut flora, and I read that there is a study a couple of studies that have shown that it may protect against breast cancer in women. So that, my friends, is before you even put any vegetables in. So one of the vegetables I'm going to put in this soup this time is butternut squash. So I had quite a large butternut squash, as you may have seen on a previous episode, and I got my husband to cut it in half lengthways, and then I roasted it in the oven. So I just sprayed with, I've got olive oil, but sunflower, whatever, just sprayed the top of it, and then I use a melon baller, would you believe? Can't believe that I got one of these years ago. It used to be quite fashionable to do melon balls in kirsch as a starter to dinner party. But I find this, because it's quite a sharp edge, it's really easy to get your flesh out. And also when you scrape in the seeds, so it gets that out. Now I'm only going to use half of this because it's a really big, probably too big, a butternut squash. The other half I'm going to use to make chocolate brownies. So that'd be nice. Now if you don't want to be chopping up the butternut squash yourself and you haven't got a handy chapping that's strong in the house, then you can buy it ready prepared. So my daughter put me onto this. Butternut squash chunks, no mess, no fuss. And keep them in the freezer. You can cook them from frozen in the oven for takes about 20 minutes or so. And my goodness, it's a good way of having your vegetables without the fat. I'm preparing all the veg to go in now. I've got some parsnips here, which I think give a nice flavour. And with parsnips, quite often they don't look so good on the outside, but they can still be fine on the inside. Now with the chunks of the vegetables, I've done some carrots, but they're about bite size. But with parsnips, obviously they get a bit fatter as they get to the end. I would chop those into 2 or 3 because you want your soup to be bite-sized chunks. You don't want to be having too big a piece in your mouth at once or having to cut it. So I'll cut some of those into 4, and the smaller ones I'll leave as they are. So you can do all this prep while the soup, the chicken carcass is cooking away nicely. So I've got some celery, just to add sort of interest and a different colour. And then obviously onion. So I would put 2 onions in this size of soup because it does give a much better flavour, and I will put a leek in as well. With the onions, I would dice them so that they're nice and small and they almost disappear into the soup once it's all cooked up. I've got my nice big knife, and as I've said before, because my surgery was on the right side and I'm right-handed, I'm not particularly strong, or if I do push it and do too much, then I do get a pain under the arm. So with this knife I can press down and help with my left hand to chop. Now a leek, it's good to get them and use them fresh. I always take the outside of the skin off and then slit them right the way down, and then give them a good wash under the tap. I've said before about that, if you open them and then wash between, you can use it all the way up to the greener part, which is really good for you. It sort of separates the leaves out, but once they're in the soup, it won't make any difference. A nice chopping board, nice and easy to lift. And then I'm going to use a courgette, again for variety, and everything, all the veg that you use, each different one will have different properties with health benefits in. But having said that, don't be put off making the soup if you haven't got a big selection, because you could just have the chicken with the yellow split peas and the red lentils and an onion, and that would be a perfectly nice soup on its own. But of course, the purpose of this demonstration and this recipe is another way to show how much goodness you can pack into one meal, which will really help your immune system and help you cope with the treatment that you're going through. So I've been prepping the vegetables while I'm waiting for the chicken carcass to cook. I've scooped out all the butternut squash and I've got that ready. Even though it is cooked as it was roasted in the oven, I will put it in with the raw veg when I I've taken the bones of the chicken out, because I find that then some of it will thicken the soup again, another natural thickener. Because it's so good for freezing, but of course if you put corn flour in it at the end to thicken it, when you take it out of the freezer it's quite glutinous, it's quite solid, it doesn't look particularly appetising. It doesn't really matter because you can always add extra water to it when you reheat. And don't forget that whenever you reheat a chicken soup, boil it rapidly for 10 minutes so that any bacteria is killed, so that it's safe, whether that's reheating from the freezer or whether you're keeping it in the fridge for a couple of days, and it does keep quite well, and then you reheat. 10 minutes rapid boil. Something else that you can put in, which I don't usually, but I'm trying to find ways of putting baby leaf spinach in as many recipes as I can, because it's so good for you. So of course if you put it in, it just sort of sweats down and disappears anyway. And then the other thing at the end, right at the end, when all the veg is cooked, I might put some frozen peas in and just cook those through for about 5 minutes. So you've got your chicken carcass, you need chicken stock cubes, yellow split peas, red lentils, butternut squash, carrots, leeks, onion, peas, parsnips. I also used a courgette, as you saw. Those are the ingredients that I use, but you can put other things that you might like in, or as I said, you could put less. While I think of it, can I just ask you, if you like this episode, this demonstration, or any of my others, if you could give me a thumbs up, please, and subscribe to my channel. By subscribing, when I get enough subscribers, then YouTube will promote the episodes, and more cancer patients will get the opportunity to see it. So I really would appreciate that. So it's been boiling for about an hour in the pressure cooker, and I would usually leave it until it's completely cooled down, and then get my very clean hands in and pull out all of the bones. But if you want to get on with it and have the soup the same day, then I would get some tongs and start fishing out the bones. So once you've got all of the bones out of the soup, and there will be quite a few, then I will put my prepared veg in. It looks like a huge amount, but it will cook down. And take up all of the water as it cooks. And then some of my butternut squash. Now you want to season it, obviously. I would put a bit of seasoning now, because then it'll cook all in with the veg, and then you can always adjust the seasoning later. We like quite a bit of salt. And the salt police after me if I'm not careful. Pepper. I like a nice bit of pepper in this soup. And then I'm going to put the top back on, and I'll cook that for maybe another 45 minutes to an hour, because I do like the vegetables to be nice and soft. But if you prefer them to be firmer, then obviously cook it for less time. So that's all bubbling away now, and just to say that there is another way of getting the bones out. If you don't want to wait and the tongs don't work, is double glove. is if you've got two right hand gloves, kitchen gloves, then make sure they're really clean, obviously, and put your hand in one and then that into the other. And it is surprising how you can get your hand into a hot pan quickly and get the bones out. But obviously the best way is to just let it cool down. You will get most of the bones out, but it is possible that some little bones will be left. That's fine with adults, you can just warn them. My mother used to say to us when we were children and she served the chicken soup, I've tried to get all the bones out, but I might have missed some, so don't complain if you find any. And then of course as children we love to find them and complain. So it didn't do us any harm, but just be careful of and warn people that there could be a bone in it. Finish steaming now, well, steam releasing, and I pressed the red button down. That took quite a few minutes. So take the lid off. My bouquet garni has risen to the top, so I'm going to take that out now so that I don't accidentally mix it in. So give it a good stir. It's a little bit stuck on the bottom. I've got it on the small ring, but of course that concentrates the heat into the middle of the pan. Now looking at this, could probably do with thickening a little bit. I don't know why my mother always used to put milk with the corn flour rather than water, but I've always done the same. So 4 teaspoons, and then a little bit of milk, mix it to a smooth paste. You don't want too much because you're just adding liquid to the liquid then. I'm actually going to put a little bit more of corn flour, so make that 5 teaspoons. It's a bit stiff now. That's all smooth. So now it's bubbling, because I've still got it on the heat. I'll pour it in, and if you put it in when it's still bubbling, it thickens nice and quickly. Turn it up a bit. There's one of my Baileys, I'm going to take that out now. So I did put some spinach in this one, and I probably won't bother with peas. On another day I might, but my peas are precious. And some of the bones are now a bit more visible. Watch my fingers, because I just touched them. A little bit more of the corn flour, well, all of it really. A good stir. That's pretty good. So season it, taste it. If you like it, great. If not, then season it again, let it boil for a little bit longer. And now I'm going to serve some up. Oh, it's bubbling away nicely. And there is the soup. And it looks quite nice, a nice colour because of the butternut squash and the yellow split peas. So there is probably 8 of those in there, and if you're on your own, you've got 8 meals altogether, and obviously if you're with someone, then you freeze portion sizes for 2, and leave enough out for the meal, and that actually you'd have enough for probably 4 weeks if you had it once a week, and then all that work is worthwhile because you don't have to do it again for another month. So I hope that that's been helpful. I hope you really enjoy your soup as we do, and don't forget to press the thumbs up if you like it and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it.